Changes are coming to the dairy economy. We have a new administration and new policies that will impact agriculture, and we have a new milk pricing structure starting in June. So how can you best prepare your farm for some of the risk that comes with these changes? Leonard Polzin is a dairy economist with the Division of Extension. He's going to be walking us through the what-ifs of 2025. But first, he reminds us that the Dairy Margin Coverage Program opens at the end of the month, which is an important tool for producers.
Correct. So dairy margin coverage, or DMC, as the acronym is thrown around, is a margin protection program that's offered through USDA FSA, Farm Service Agency. So what it does is it offers a income over feed cost, or as we would say, margin, right, calculation that you can then sign up for. And then if milk prices or feed prices change, that would trigger a payment. So oftentimes we'll refer to that $9.50 coverage level, which is that tier one first level of coverage that a producer can elect. If margins fall below that level, then a payment is triggered. So a few big things to take away from this is that right now the program is a continuation of previous year's programs, right? So what that means is that since we don't have a new farm bill, we're looking at simply continuing with what we had. So what that means on the farmer level is that we're not updating any production histories. We're not having any changes to programs. It's status quo, right? But that doesn't mean that you need to not enroll. You still need to enroll. You still need to go to the FSA office and make sure you get all of your paperwork in order with them. So sign-up period starts January 29th and runs through March 31st. And again, that sign-up takes place at the Farm Service Agency office.
Now, there's projections that come out to pretty much predict when DMC would kick in. First, when do we see those, and are those even reliable? Should we rely on those to make this decision?
So a great question. For those that are interested, you can simply Google DMC, or Dairy Margin Calculator, and a website tool will pop up where you can put in all of your information, production history. It'll give you coverage levels, premium amounts that are owed, all of this, right? And then within that, it will show the forecasted payments as well through 2025. As anybody in dairy knows, it's a long time to get through the whole year, especially when you're looking at sign-up periods, right? So right now, while it is expected that we will have positive margins through the whole entire year, kind of when you take a look at where our current forecast is for feed price and then also for all milk price, I think there's some evidence that says, we might see these margins kind of come down a few dollars compared to where they're projected at the moment. So also one thing is that we always have a large amount of uncertainty in the marketplace, and right now is no exception to that. So as we look at what the next year brings, I think as far as a risk management tool goes, DMC has kind of proven that it is effective, it's simple to use relative to other programs, and does seem to provide a pretty good value. So opting out of it, is difficult to say that it's a wise choice. One interesting thing is that in years in which we've seen good forecasts for the next 12 months, the year that we had our highest payout amount of the program was also a year when we expected no payments at all, right? So encourage people to keep that in mind, right? You don't sign up for these programs to make money, you use them to manage your risk. And I think they've been effective at doing that over time.
And let's talk about risk and some of the unknowns. Well, what was an unknown, but the decision has come out. The federal milk marketing order changes beginning, June 1?
Correct. Yep. So some of the implementation things are still being finessed and weeded out as we go along. But kind of the big takeaways here is that, we will see this change in make allowance on that processor side. And especially here in the upper Midwest, as we take a look at where a lot of our milk is being utilized, it's in that class 3 portion going into cheese, right? So when we take a look at the effects of kind of federal milk marketing orders as in their entirety, right? When we look at all milk price, right now we're estimating about a 30 cent per hundredweight decrease in 2025 from the effects of federal milk marketing orders. And then here, like I said, in the upper Midwest and Wisconsin, simply because our class 3 utilization is so much higher relative to other places, we're going to see, greater drops in that component price and also in that class 3 price. So in our component prices, we could see up to 60 cents decrease in our component price, and then that kind of comes back to a 10-cent decrease in our class 3 price.
Leonard, you reminded me before this conversation that it's not the federal marketing orders that make the dairy prices. It's the market.
So I do think it's always important to know or to note that federal orders are a mechanism in which price discovery happens, right? They don't set prices. So at the end of the day, the market still sets prices. So I think in the broader plan of risk management, or our crystal ball of forecasting, some of the things that are going to make the most difference in price that we're looking at the moment, first of all, are going to be policy, right? What comes out through the new administration, what changes are going to happen, whether it's tariffs or things that influence any sort of our trade, right? Strength of the dollar, things like this could drastically outweigh any impact that we would see from federal order changes, right? So in magnitude, right, of impact. So I think that's important to remember. And then also, as we have new processing capacity coming online, we are going to see some increased demand from the farm level milk into those new facilities, right? So I think in the short term here, we'll see some renewed demand for milk, and that will kind of be some price supportive as well. And then as we get into the second part of the year, we'll kind of see where prices fall from there.
And while there are so many unknowns for this year, we can leave the conversation on a positive note. As Leonard said, Wisconsin is primarily a Class 3 milk producing state. Class 3 milk goes to make cheese, and cheese has remained a bright spot for the dairy industry.
Correct. Yep. We've seen, fairly, we'll say, steady demand on that cheese side of the market for sure. Same thing with butter, right? But the big thing there that we're still teasing out is some of our price sensitivities to these products. So the big question is as we get more processing capacity coming online at some point in the future, say end of 2025, maybe into 2026, we would see more product, physical, right, blocks of cheese, things like this enter the market. And then the question there is, what price level do we need to be at in order to clear those products? Okay. So demand has been consistent, right? So that's been good news. We're entering our third cheese holiday of the year here. So we have Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the Super Bowl. So hopefully we're, everybody's able to do their part and keep clearing the market of cheese for that third and final holiday of the cheese year here.
Chips and queso, pizzas, all that good stuff. But then we get into spring flush, and then cheese processors will be buying up, right, and starting to make cheese for the cold season. Correct.
Yep. So I do think we are going to see a decent amount of seasonality pressure, just like you're talking about, especially in the short term here, right? So the hope is that there's enough demand for producers' milk that we don't get too much of the negative impacts of that spring flush, and then also what we call the holiday hangover period, right, where folks have already eaten their cheese and their butter for a while, right, and kind of back off on some of their purchasing. So hopefully we can make it through the next few months of that, and then as we progress through the rest of the year, again, hopefully demand stays strong, and hopefully we're able to clear that final product that we make, and hopefully the demand for milk stays good.
Leonard Polzin joining us. He's a dairy economist with the Division of Extension, explaining for us some of the elements he's watching that will influence the dairy economy in 2025. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.